Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Kari's Confessions, a nonprofit exec tells all. I'm Kari Anderson, your host and principal with Incite Consulting. My podcasts explore the tools and strategies that help nonprofit leaders grow their impact and build resilient organizations. As always, I'm here to share some hard-earned lessons and honest truths from life inside the nonprofit world. I spent 25 plus years in the nonprofit sector in leadership roles with 7 organizations. Now I provide coaching and consulting services to ensure that nonprofits, like yours, have the structure, systems, and practices to do your best work. Wherever I go, I continue to hear that nonprofit execs need a space to gather, to receive tools, feedback, and advice that encourages them to stay the course. It doesn't matter if you're in a village of 182 or a metropolis of millions, nonprofit work is both gratifying and lonely. I'm here to make sure that you have a chance to breathe, laugh, smirk, and hopefully get excited again about the important work that you do. So today we're talking about budgeting in support of your mission. Sometimes an unsexy topic, and as one of my favorite nuns used to say, no money, no mission. So here's a confession from me. I was taught to budget by looking backward, not only in my family, but in a couple of nonprofits that I first started working with. Some of the questions that we worked through: what did I spend last month? Where can I cut so that the numbers technically work? And listen, sometimes that's necessary. That approach can stop the bleeding. But here's the truth I learned the hard way, personally and running nonprofits at an earlier age. Budgets built for survival rarely build anything meaningful. If you're trying to create change in your life, in your family, in your organization, then you need a different starting point. Today, I want to talk around mission-driven budgeting. And yes, this applies whether you're running a nonprofit or just trying to stop wondering where your money went every month. So here's the shift. From what did I spend to what am I trying to change? Mission-driven budgeting asks a totally different first question. What outcomes am I trying to create? And what does my money need to do to support that? Only after that do we talk about categories and numbers. This works for individuals, families, nonprofits, small businesses, anyone who wants their spending to reflect their values, not just their habits. Traditional budgets optimize for comfort and routine. Mission-driven budgets optimize for outcomes. And that difference, that's where the magic is, because it plugs those hidden leaks. You know the ones. Low impact spending that quietly eats your margin month after month without actually moving your life or your mission forward. So let's get into a system you can actually use. Step 1, get painfully clear on your mission. And I do mean painfully. Your mission doesn't need to be lofty. It needs to be useful. If it can't help you answer, should we spend on this or not, it's not clear enough yet. Here's a simple formula. I or we use money to prioritize X for Y by doing Z. Examples. First, personal. I use money to prioritize debt freedom and health for my future self by paying down principal and funding preventative care. Here's an example for family. We use money to prioritize stability and time by building savings and buying back time in a few key areas, a la a house cleaner. Now, here's an example for a nonprofit. We use money to prioritize program growth for underserved families by expanding service capacity and strengthening staff support. If you're stuck, ask yourself, what do I want to change in the next 12 months? What do I keep spending on and regret afterwards? Where do I feel financially reactive instead of intentional? If I had to cut 10% tomorrow, what would I protect at all costs? Then build what I call a mission ladder. Values, 2 outcomes, 2 projects, 2 budget categories. So stability turns into an emergency fund. Inclusion turns into staff training. Impact turns into actual program delivery, not just swag. This is how inspiration becomes execution. Now, I want you to choose 3 to 5 impact goals, people not 12. 3 to 5. Because this is where people derail. When everything is a priority, nothing is. Choose 3 to 5 goals that clearly express your mission. Common buckets look like security, freedom, well-being, contribution, growth. Each goal needs a metric, a time frame, and a monthly dollar amount. Here's the key. Stabilize, then build, then expand. First, stop the panic. Then, strengthen the base. Next, invest in growth. And no, your numbers don't need to be impressive. Even $25 a month, if it's consistent, is a serious mission signal. So, step 3, we want to build your impact stack. This is one of my favorite tools and one I wish I knew about in my 20s. Your impact stack is a ranked list of where your dollars do the most good when money gets tight. You rank spending using 4 questions. Does it align with a mission? Can I measure the outcome? Does it create leverage? Does it reduce future risk or cost? This keeps you from making emotional decisions when you're tired, stressed, or tempted. And here's a hard truth from the nonprofit world. High alignment does not always equal high impact. Something can feel great and still be wildly inefficient. Your impact stack protects what matters when trade-offs show up. Now, we need to layer the budget so it can actually survive real life. You'll use 3 layers. Non-negotiables like housing, utilities, basic food, insurance, minimum debt payments, mission allocations, your impact goals, funded monthly, and margin, flex, fun, optional spending. Let me say this clearly. Budgets without margin break. So do nonprofits. Margin isn't weakness, it's resilience. So use averages. Stop rebudgeting every time life happens. Exhaustion kills consistency. Next, I want you to create a mission line item so that impact isn't optional. This is where most systems fail. If your mission only lives in your head, it loses whatever is loudest that month. So name it. Could be your Future Freedom Fund, or Health First, or Community Impact, or Program Growth, Capacity Building. Then automate it. Day after payday. No decisions required. This is how good intentions become defaults. So I want to talk about cutting costs without cutting the mission. Many of you had to do this over the last year. This is not supposed to be about suffering. Instead, I want you to think about running a low impact audit. No, this isn't involving a $20,000 outside firm, right? I want you to look at the last 60 to 90 days. Tag spending as high, medium, or low impact. Look for patterns. And then remember the rule, swap, don't suffer. So personally, cancel 2 subscriptions and instead fund your emergency fund. Maybe 1 fewer DoorDash delivery order. Fund giving or health. The goal is impact, not austerity. Now, we want to get into the habit of measuring impact monthly so that you don't drift. Once a month, 20 minutes, track mission funding rate, progress metrics, friction point, and keep a win list. Where did your stress go down? What moved forward? What leak did you finally plug? Variance is data, not a failure. So my final confession for you today, every dollar is a vote. And I've voted poorly several times in my life. Here's the whole framework, clean and repeatable, right? Mission to impact goals, to impact stack, to layered budget, to mission line item plus automation equal and a low impact audit and a monthly review. You're not restricting yourself. You're funding what matters, whether that's personally, whether that's your family, or whether that's your nonprofit. Your budget's already telling a story. Mission-driven budgeting lets you actually write it on purpose, not by accident. So if you do one thing this week, do this. Pick one mission, whether it's for yourself, whether it's for your family, whether it's for the organization you serve. Set up a small automatic transfer. Schedule a 20-minute monthly review. That's how you stop leaking money into low impact habits and start using it to build the world you actually want. Thanks for joining me today for Kari's Confessions, a nonprofit exec tells all. If you found this episode helpful, share it with a colleague or board member. and make sure to follow me on your favorite streaming platforms. For additional resources and tools, follow me on LinkedIn. You can also check out my website at inciteconsultinggroup.com. Until next time, have a great week.